Hi, I'm John Ray, and welcome to the Thriving Podcast. I'm your host and intuitive coach, dedicated to amplifying your intuition, transforming your mind, and igniting your inner magic to create a life you're obsessed with. 2 years ago, I was burnt out as fuck in a toxic relationship and a successful tech career that I just wasn't happy in anymore. I left it all behind with no plan, and now I'm running my own business, immersed in purpose and passion, happily married to my soulmate, and living out my dreams every single day. And if you're badass enough to be listening to this podcast, then you're already on the fast track to doing the same, babe. On this podcast, we'll dive into all things life, business, heart, mind, body, and soul, empowering you to up-level your life and embody your happiest, healthiest, and hottest self. It's time to make idealistic your new realistic, because you're not just here to survive, you're here to thrive. Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the podcast. Happy Thriving Thursday. My throat is really hoarse right now because of allergies, and it's also a bit late that I'm recording this intro and I'm very sleepy. So I'm going to keep the intro quick. As you know, if you listened to the last episode, I already recorded most of this episode last time because while I was recording the manifestation Q&A, I answered the questions kind of all at once, and then I decided to break them up into separate episodes so that you didn't have like a 3-hour long episode, because you know your girl can talk. So the next question that this episode is going to be focused on was, I always get stuck on letting go of the things I want, like I want them really bad. How do I stop that? Which is probably one of the most common questions I get about manifestation. It's like, you know, everyone says you have to let go of the attachment, let go of the desire. You'll get it once you stop wanting it. And it's like, well, how do I stop wanting it? I want it, right? Like I want it. How do I stop wanting it, right? It doesn't make any sense. So that's what we're going to talk about in this episode, basically what that means, how to actually apply that to your own practice, kind of how to take the pressure off a bit, grounding into trust and patience and embodiment practices and all of that. And then there's a little mini story time at the end, because I know I said I would give you guys a story of like why Sindri was suddenly here this weekend. So it's like a mini story. There's a bigger story that I'll tell at a later date, but I tried to like tie it in and make it relevant to the episode as best we could. It's still definitely relevant to manifestation. So that's what we're diving into today. I honestly don't feel like I could have answered this question any better. I think I was very thorough, and I think this will definitely unlock some magic for you. So without further ado, I will send you to past John Ray answering this question. Oh, also, I should say, if you didn't listen to the last episode, I highly recommend listening to that first, because it really helps set a groundwork for just a lot of how I view manifestation. And I referenced some things in that episode. And yeah, just kind of like general laws of the universe and laws of manifestation. So it'll be a helpful reference to listen to that first. So how do you stop wanting what you want? What I was just talking about is actually exactly what the key is here. So it's that idea of embodiment and the idea of you have everything within you already. So anything that you want to manifest, right? Anything that you want in your physical reality, it's coming back to, why do I want this? What will this bring me? And really asking, you know, so it's like, if you want more money, why do I want more money? What do I feel that I'm lacking that I think more money will bring me? Like the want is always coming from this place of lack. But again, like you literally can't be lacking anything energetically because of that Play-Doh analogy. And again, it is always coming back to just a way we want to feel, right? Because again, the way we feel, like that's our experience. Like if you're happy and content, you don't care about manifesting. If you were completely 100% satisfied and happy, content with every single part of your life, there would be nothing that you wanted to manifest or change. So the reason we want to manifest is because we don't have that contentment. Now, I will say, like, that doesn't mean, like, there's a difference between kind of the want and the need and like desire. So I'm not saying that, you know, you won't still desire to manifest things, even if you are in a place where you are like 100% at peace and like in love with yourself, right? It doesn't mean you won't still desire things, because, you know, we're still in this like amazing, cool, awesome, like human experience on Earth where we can enjoy like all of this abundance that life has to offer. So yeah, like I could be super content and like still want more money because that would like make my life even more convenient or even more enjoyable. Or I could have even more experiences, or it's, da 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 da. But it's just really this idea of desire. Yes, like, yes, I'm good. And I would still love to do that, right? Oh, I made a TikTok about this once. I was basically like, think about, if you're really thirsty, basically, everything that you want in your life, like your actions and decisions are all driven by how you're feeling. So for this example, like you feel thirsty and then you're like, I want a drink. So it's like if you say to the universe, like to go with this analogy, hey, I want to manifest a glass of water, right? And the universe is like, oh, hey, yeah, totally. I can absolutely like get that glass of water and like on its way to you, right? Sending it into your reality. But in the meantime, I could also just like snap my fingers and quench your thirst. And like then you wouldn't feel thirsty anymore. And then it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, then I wouldn't feel thirsty. Like I wouldn't really care how long it takes for the water to get here because I'm not thirsty anymore, right? You see what I'm saying? Like now you have your feeling like satisfied and met. So it's like, okay, cool. Water's on its way to me. Once it gets here, I'm still probably going to drink it because I enjoy the experience, right? Again, in this physical world, like I enjoy the experience of drinking water and like on a hot sunny day, right? Or maybe you got a different drink and it's like, I just enjoy the taste of this drink. And so, yes, I'm happy to still experience the taste of this drink and that will bring joy to my life. But I'm also good either way. If it never shows up, I'm not missing out because, like I already have joy and like my thirst is already quenched. Actually, an even better example, more relatable, I'll give really quickly, would be like, when you go out to eat and you're really, really hungry and you're like, when you're out to eat and you're starving and you're like, oh my God, when is the food coming? And every time a server walks by, you're like, is that our food? Is that our food? Right? Every time you see a tray, you're like, is that our food? And you just can't stop thinking about your food coming because you're so hungry. But now think about you're in that same situation, but then they bring bread to the table, right? Or like you get appetizers or something and you eat those and then you're not starving anymore. So you're not like constantly thinking about the entrees, right? You can actually like enjoy your dinner, have conversation, and then like you're still excited for your entrees to come. And when the entrees come, like you're excited and you eat it, but you're no longer like, oh my God, like, are they coming? Are they coming? When are they coming? How long until they come? Because you're not starving for it anymore. Like you've had your need met. So the desire is still there, but the need has been met. It's that idea of like, yes, you can desire things, but when you get into that needy, wanting energy and feeling like without that thing, you are lacking. So the idea of how to like hack that, letting go of the thing you want is, okay, what do I feel like I'm lacking that I think this thing will bring me? How can I, fill that void within myself? And then the trick is, once you do that, you naturally then forget about, how bad you want the thing because you don't have that feeling driving the want anymore. To bring it back to the money example, because I've been getting a lot of questions about money manifestation lately, and we are definitely going to be diving into manifesting money and abundance specifically in Hot Girl CEO Summer. Don't you worry, because I know a lot of you have questions about that. You have about a week left to join that, by the way, when this is coming out. So definitely send me a DM on Instagram. Is it a week? Let me check my calendar. Yeah, a week left to join at the $44 price, and then it's going to go up to $88, but you're also going to miss some stuff. I'm going to be sprinkling some things in there, so you definitely want to get in earlier rather than later. Our official kickoff call is going to be July 9th. We're starting that second week of July 8th, because I wanted to align it to the moon cycle, and I wanted to wait until after 4th of July weekend, but we are kind of getting started the first week of July, and like I said, the earlier you jump in, the more bonuses you get, the more value you get, and the lower price point you get. So all that to say, we are going to be talking more about money manifestation in Hot Girl CEO Summer. But to bring it back to the money example with this same metaphor, it's like, what is the feeling behind manifesting money? Like what, again, feelings drive our desires, right? So you feel a certain way and that makes you want more money. So it's like, what problem do I think this is going to solve? Like what feeling do I think this is going to bring me? Is it because you don't feel safe? because you don't know where your rent is coming from. And so your nervous system literally doesn't feel safe. And it's like, if somebody could be like, hey, like, money is coming, like, trust, don't worry. But like, in the meantime, like, you can just have that feeling of safety and knowing like you are taken care of, right? Like, if you had that feeling of just knowing you are taken care of and you are safe, like, it's all going to work out, then you wouldn't feel so needy for the money to come. And that's really where it comes back to trust. Like, that's why building your trust is so powerful, because that is what gives you that feeling, right? Trust is literally like the bridge. Like, trust is what fills in that gap where you aren't feeling safe when you don't have the physical evidence that you should feel safe. That's where trust comes in. But like, cultivating those feelings within our bodies is also so important. And with money, I always talk about safety and freedom, because those are the two biggest feelings it usually comes back to. But it's the same thing I always say with freedom is like, the only reason why you are ever not feeling free is because you are holding yourself back in some way. You are holding yourself back from potential. You are denying your intuition in some way. You are not expressing your truth. And as soon as you take that action to honor your intuition and shift into alignment with your intuition instead of denying your truth, you will feel free in that moment. Is literally like, the key to freedom is living in alignment with truth, which is just following your intuition. And it's like, it's not actually the money that's not making you feel free. It's not the lack of money that's the reason why you don't feel free. It's because you're holding yourself back in some way. It's like, if you truly felt safe and free 100% of the time, like, you had a knowing that everything was going to be fine, you are provided, you are taken care of, you are supported, you are safe, and you felt free to do whatever you want, you didn't feel like you were limited by something outside of you, you wouldn't feel like you need the money so you have more freedom to travel or to do this or that, right? You wouldn't feel like you need the money so that you feel supported and you know that you're going to have enough money to pay your rent and to buy your groceries or whatever it is, because you would just feel that way. And it's like, yeah, I'm not going to say no to more money. And it's not like you still logistically like don't need the money to pay your rent and you're not aware of that. But it's like, that's where the neediness fades away, because those feelings are met. And so they're just not triggering the feeling of neediness and the thought of like, and the fear, right? Like, the fear is not being triggered because you feel safe and free and loved. So when you feel that way, basically you stop worrying about when is it coming, how is it coming, because you trust that it's coming, but also because you're just not literally being triggered to worry or to ask those questions, because the only thing that triggers you to like worry about that is the feeling, if that makes sense. And you can basically apply this like formula and ask these questions with anything, right? It's like, I really want to be in a relationship. I really want to find a partner. And it's like, well, why do you want to find a partner? Like, I want to feel loved, or I want to feel seen. I want to feel special, like, da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, if you work on self-love and you learn to love yourself and you make yourself feel like special and seen, and you take care of yourself and you're like dating yourself, and you start to kind of fall in love with yourself and be like, oh, I actually love hanging out with myself. And you're not lonely with yourself. And you're just like kind of enjoying doing your own thing. That's normally when you end up finding the partner, right? They always say like, you find love finds you once you stop looking for it, or whatever it is, right? Because you're now embodying that love. So then that love comes to you. And once you started embodying the love and giving yourself the love that you were trying to seek from a partner, then you actually forget really kind of about like wanting the partner that bad, because it's like, oh, actually, like there's nothing triggering that thought of like, I want a partner, because it's like the loneliness that's triggering it. It's like the lack of self-love that's triggering it. So once you start to embody the self-connection and self-love yourself, then that's how you really let go of it. When it comes to like business, it's like, I really want these clients. Well, why do you want the clients? What feeling is it going to bring you? What is it going to bring to your life that you feel like you're lacking? Well, I feel like then I'll be successful. Okay, well, like, how can I embody success now? How could I feel successful right now? And a lot of this comes back to gratitude too, right? Because it's that abundance mindset of like, where and why do I feel like I'm lacking this quality or this feeling? Like, what's making me feel like I can't feel this way, right? And the thing is too, with this idea that you can bring up, cultivate any feeling within yourself, is like, literally when you just sit back, close your eyes and like remember a happy memory, right? It's like visualization. It's like, remember a time when you felt successful. and feel it in your body, right? Like when you imagine, that's the thing, is like your brain doesn't know the difference between imagined and real. That's why I keep saying, like, it's just your conscious perception of everything is like your experience, right? Like I was saying last episode, it's all just make believe. So your brain doesn't know the difference. So if you have that ability to sit back and like, you know, relive a memory and bring that feeling up, right? Like I was doing this the other day. I was like reliving a memory of being in Sindri's arms because that's like something that makes me feel really safe and happy and loved. And I was like, let me bring all these feelings up because it's good energy and good vibes. And I actually, like, a smile came to my face when I really let myself go there, because like I felt like I was there because my brain can tell the difference. My body can tell the difference, right? So if you can bring that feeling up, it's like, imagine if you could just like feel that feeling of when you're in that memory all the time. Like technically all you care about is you want the change to your experience, right? And all these things that we want to manifest, they're just the way that we, like the way that our logical brain can conceptualize that we could feel this way, right? Well, if I get that thing, then I can feel this way. And that's another reason why it's so important to get so clear on what is the feeling you are seeking and not necessarily the specific tangible thing that you think will bring you the feeling, because there are so many ways that your needs could actually be met, right? Like there are so many ways the universe can come in and support you that you can't even conceptualize or can't even see or don't, you know, feel realistic to you or whatever it is. So that's why literally embodying the energy and embodying the feeling and like just calibrating to the frequency is really your most important job. And it's like, let the universe do the rest. I am calibrating to the frequency of being supported, and I'm trusting the universe will support me, and I'm letting the universe show me how I actually need to be supported and letting the universe meet my needs. And at the end of the day, honestly, to really, really simplify it, it all comes down to just feeling love and feeling worthy of love. Like truly everything pretty much comes back to that. So self-love and self-worth and self-forgiveness and self-compassion, like those are the keys to pretty much everything, because yeah, it's really all just different ways and different paths that all lead back to self-love. Because at the core, again, is like this idea that we are just all pure love at our core. Like that's your pure essence, is just love, right? Like the universe is just made of love. We are all, love is your true essence. So, and we want to be in alignment with truth, right? You want to be in alignment with your truth. It doesn't feel good to be out of alignment with truth, right? Think about how you feel when you lie, right? That feels shitty. So that's why I'm so passionate about intuition, because intuition is your truth. So you want to be, which is love and abundance, right? We are abundant, infinite love. So that's your truth, and you want to be in alignment with that at all times. Like that is truly how you desire to feel. So it's basically like, when you feel out of alignment with your truth, which is that you are abundant and you are love, then you feel shitty. And so you want to change it. So you want a thing outside of you that you think will make you feel abundant and will make you feel like love. But the truth is that you actually just have to, you know, heal and release all the, you know, the energy and all the parts of you that are basically preventing you from being fully aligned with that truth of that is already what you are. And honestly, even more than that, it's not even that you like need to like heal all these parts of you that are bad. It's that you just need to like figure out, how can I show myself love in every moment? How can I love myself through everything? And if you truly can get to a place where you are able to show yourself love and compassion and forgiveness through anything and everything, like you've won. Because if you can give that love to yourself and you can receive that love from yourself, then you can give it to other people. You can receive it from other people and from other sources, right? Because again, everything is energy, and love is like the highest frequency, and love is everything. Love is the answer. Love is always the answer. Like honestly, when it comes to manifestation, I sometimes don't even like to talk about the specifics too much with like manifesting specific things like money, client, whatever, because at the end of the day, it literally is like, if you just focus on self-love, like if you just make that your focus, everything else will fall into place. Like you will manifest everything else. Like your self-love is the core of everything. Okay, side tangents on side tangents. What else is new? So to kind of bring it back for a couple more tangible examples, like with business, with entrepreneurships, essentially all of it with business, right, leads to basically more money, more success. So we talked about money a little bit already, but like with success, maybe you want the success so that you can feel like you're good at what you do. So you can feel confident. And it's like, it actually doesn't work that way. Like you have to believe you're good at what you do and you have to cultivate that confidence in order to actually manifest the success. We can't actually get confidence from outside of us. The thing is, like, if we try to seek that external validation, we're just going to be in a constant chase. And as soon as that external validation dips, if we're constantly outsourcing it, as soon as it dips, then we're going to like spiral, right? Because we're never getting it from within. And the other thing is like that can lead to imposter syndrome too, because the more that you seek external validation, the more external validation you get. If you still don't have like that belief in yourself from within and that confidence from within, then it's just going to create a bigger and bigger gap between your self-concept and what you think other people are seeing you as. So if you don't feel confident and you're trying to seek validation from outside sources to feel confident, it's actually going to exacerbate the problem. Because it's just going to align even less with the way that you view yourself. So what you actually want is to pump up your own self-concept and the way you view yourself and build that confidence from within. And then it reflects outside of you. And like, it's a win-win, right? It's like a lose-lose and a win-win. When you seek it outside of you, you don't get it. And then if you do get it, you're not happy when you get it because it didn't actually change anything. And if you seek it from inside of you, then you don't actually care if you get it outside, but then you get it anyway. And then the trust piece is also huge with this. So it's coming back to that kind of like, what's the rush and trusting that it's coming. Because when you're having trouble letting go of the desire, the thing that you want to manifest, it's normally because you have a timeline or a pressure around it, which again is like, okay, what's the rush? And it's because you feel like you need that thing to make you feel a certain way or change a certain thing about your life. And so it's just literally always coming back to, everything that I desire, everything that I need is already within me. What part of me is feeling like I'm lacking? What part of me is feeling like that's not true? And diving into that piece and that part of you and working there. I come back to that question like every day, right? I'm like, John Marie, what is the rush? Literally, what's the rush? Like, why do I feel like I'm lacking? Why do I feel like I need any of those things to feel whole? Going back to relationship example, I feel like it's pretty commonly like agreed upon and like wide knowledge of like, you don't seek a partner to complete you, right? Like you are whole and complete and then your partner complements you and enhances your life. That's how we want to look at everything. It's like, I am whole and complete and everything else is just an enhancement. And so when you're feeling attached to the outcome, it's really just, looking at that part of you that feels like you're lacking and feels like you're not already whole and complete and you need this thing. And that's what's putting the rush and the pressure on the thing. The last piece of this actually that just came to me that I want to mention too is on that element of trust is trusting the process, right? Because when I said attachment to outcome, that's what triggered that. Because I think a lot of the time, we can get attached to a certain outcome because, again, we think we know better than the universe, right? Like we think that this outcome is what has to happen for things to be right? Or for things to go, quote unquote, well, or to be successful. But there actually is no really such thing as that. It's like I always say, like, there's no such thing as a mistake, only a lesson, right? Or like, there's no such thing as failure. It's just a stepping stone to success. Like every quote unquote failure is a necessary step you needed to learn what you needed to learn and integrate what you needed to integrate, to know what you need to know to actually experience the quote unquote success. And it all just comes back to like your expectation. It's like, well, I was expecting it to go this way and it didn't go this way. So now it like didn't go right or didn't go well or wasn't what I wanted. And if you can really lean into trust with that aspect and kind of like really like, again, expand your perspective and remember that like, okay, I maybe thought like my ego thought I was going to go this way or wanted to go this way, but I recognized the bigger picture and that was a stepping stone. And now I'm one step closer to the thing I want. That's another thing with manifestation is I feel like people get really, really thrown about this is because it's like, why isn't my thing manifesting? Why isn't it coming? And it's like, it is, right? And it's that kind of idea of like trusting that it is always coming, like it is on its way, but you just might not realize like how many steps you need to take to get there, or how far away you might be from that energetically, or like how many shifts do you need to make? Or like one of my favorite questions to ask is, what lesson haven't I integrated in this area? That's especially a good one if you feel like you're having the same thing over and over, right? Like you keep having unhealthy relationships. It's like, oh, like why do relationships keep not working out? I'm just ready to find my dream partner. It's like, okay, well, what lesson haven't you integrated yet, right? Are you still settling? Are you still putting their needs above your own? Are you still, not loving yourself first, whatever it is? Because of course, every experience has a lesson with it. And so if we don't integrate the lesson, like if we don't actually learn and integrate the lesson, then we're going to keep getting it over and over. And we're going to keep getting it more and more extreme until we integrate it, right? So if your manifestation still hasn't come, or you haven't at least seen change or progress towards it, there's a lesson you're ignoring that you haven't integrated into your life yet, right? Because again, it's all just this vehicle for growth. If you're trying to manifest $10,000, you might think like, oh, my manifestation's not coming. I haven't manifested this money. But it's like, meanwhile, like there's been all these little changes happening that are getting you closer and closer and closer, right? It's like if you're like, trying to get to a destination, if you're viewing it that way, it's like if I tell you to walk across the room, you're not just going to like snap and pop up on the other side of the room. You have to walk across step by step by step. So it's like right now you are just in the process of walking across the room, and eventually you're going to get there. But it's like you could be a few steps away, right? We're just kind of going in blind. That's why we need trust. We just have to trust that our intuition is guiding us. And as long as we're, doing all these things, then we are going to get to the other side of the room. But we just can't see where we are. You just have to like keep walking forward and trusting that you're going. You know what I mean? So I think often people kind of just expect it's going to be that finger snap kind of a thing. And if, until you're actually literally there with that, biggest, best version of whatever it is you're trying to manifest, you're like, oh, it's not working. It's not happening. It's like, it's happening. It's just a process, right? Especially if it's a big goal, like you literally have to expand your nervous system capacity to hold it. Like there's a quote, God, what's the quote? We heal at the pace of safety. We heal at the speed of safety. And basically what that means is you can only stretch so far outside of your comfort zone in a way that is going to expand your nervous system capacity in a sustainable way. And that's why this embodiment piece is so important. Like going back to what I was saying before about like calibrating to the frequency is like getting into that place and pulling that feeling up within you every single day and like slowly making these unfamiliar feelings that your body does not feel safe with yet feel more and more normal and comfortable. It's like the classic, like why so many people win the lottery and then they spend it all. Like they don't have that capacity built to hold that much money and that much abundance or that much joy, right? You can't just suddenly snap. So I'm going to talk more about nervous system and how it plays a role in all of this in the next episode. But yeah, basically all of that to say is like you actually have to take small, consistent steps and have like small wins that slowly grow bigger and bigger to get to the big goal. And so you're really, really just hurting yourself and going to make it a lot harder for yourself if you stay so focused on this big goal and you're not appreciating and celebrating the progress along the way and realizing how crucial that is to the overall goal. And also realizing that there really is no difference between like the big goals and the small goals. And again, it's not really about what's outside of you at all. It's about what's within. So all that to say, patience and trust are so important. And I know it's easier said than done. So hopefully, everything else I've talked about will really help you to actually ground into that patience and that trust. But basically to just bring it back to some really tangible advice to send you off with. I feel like I've kind of given it, but just to kind of give you like the cliff notes of, what should I take away from this? What should I literally enact and focus on? Just start with, okay, what is the thing I want? Why do I want this? What will this bring me? And how will I feel once I get it? And also, like what part of me is not trusting that this is going to come, right? Because if you really truly trust and believe that it's going to come, then you're not going to be feeling as needy and impatient for it, right? And I mean, you still could feel impatient for it, right? Because you could just be like, I know this is coming and I'm just so freaking excited for it. And so I feel impatient. But often there's this piece of like, I'm finding it hard to let go of my attachment to it because there's a part of me that's not actually trusting or believing that it is coming. Because it's like, if you ask yourself, like I just used this metaphor the other day, it's like if you're looking forward to the next episode of your favorite TV show coming out and it's coming out on Friday, right? You're really excited for it to come on Friday, but you're not like spending all week worrying that it's suddenly not going to come out, right? Or you're like, oh, is it really going to come Friday? Like, it's coming and you're excited for it, but you're like, I know it's coming Friday. So I'm just going to like live my life and then be really happy on Friday. You might be like just so impatient for it that you're like, oh my God, Friday cannot come soon enough. And to the point where you're like not even enjoying your present moment because you're just so focused on that moment, like just living in the future. And so it's like with either of those cases, it's really, again, coming back to that idea of like, why am I not content living in my present moment right now? Like, why am I so in a rush to get to this future state, right? Like, how can I bring it here now? So starting with those questions, what is it? Why do I want it? Why am I not content? What will it bring me? How will I feel once I get it? What part of me is not trusting? And then diving in from there. One last thing I just want to say on that, just because of recent experiences that I've been having, is also remember, when it, like, just the way the question is framed is like, how do I stop wanting it? Like, how do I let go of wanting it? And I can like give all this advice of like, remember, you don't really need it and this and that. But also remember, we're all going to be in a different place, like, and needing different things. And like acceptance and validation of the desire can also be an important piece. I know for me personally, I'm somebody who I put a lot of responsibility on myself because I do feel so passionate about, this idea of taking responsibility for your life and, that you are a co-creator of your reality. And it's very empowering in a lot of ways. But it can go too far, especially for us high achievers and perfectionists. And I know a lot of you are like me and we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. So also remember, like, to when we're really wanting to manifest something, we can get very like start to put a lot of pressure on it. And it can shift into shame sometimes of like, why am I blocking this? Because we know we are a co-creator of our reality. So it's like if we're not manifesting, we're like, why am I blocking this? And like, how do I let go? Why can't I let go? And I think there can be this almost guilt sometimes of wanting the thing. And just like, I feel like, yeah, just elements of guilt and shame can come in. And like I was saying, the key is love, right? Showing yourself love and compassion. And guilt and shame are energy killers. They are vibe killers. They are manifestation killers. So we don't want to slip into guilt and shame. Like, yes, at the end of the day, you have everything you need within you and you can like find it within yourself. But at the same time, it's also completely valid to desire whatever you're desiring and whatever you're wanting to manifest. And sometimes it could just be needing to accept and validate that desire, which can also help take it off the pedestal. Because really, everything I've been saying is like, how do we take the desire off the pedestal and just like, feel that is already in our field so that we don't feel so needy for it. So I'll share a short personal example because this is perfect because it ties right into the little story I wanted to tell you. Because I said I would update you on why Sindri was here this weekend suddenly. I recently, like very intentionally, I may have mentioned this on the podcast already, but I very intentionally sat down and really dove into some inner work to really kind of practice what I preach in terms of manifestation with obviously, one of my biggest manifestation desires and goals right now is for Sindri's visa to get approved so he can move here and we can be together all the time. And so I sat down with that and I was like, okay, like, what's underneath this? Like, why am I feeling so needy for this? Like, what am I feeling like I'm lacking? And of course, it came back to like these feelings of loneliness and like self-love and vulnerability and all that stuff. What did I say? Self-love at the end of the day, right? And it unpacked a whole ton of stuff. And so it was very powerful and healing and sent me on like a whole journey with that. But I realized I kind of was going on this healing journey of like, why do I feel, so alone, and like, why can't I give this love to myself, and I feel so needy to get it from him. And actually, what I was needing to do to show myself compassion in order to clear the resistance, it wasn't like, in this case, clearing the resistance wasn't taking the desire to be with him off the pedestal by being like, I can just give myself the love that I want from him. It was taking the desire off the pedestal of being like, it's actually okay to want this, and validating the desire instead of like looking at it like this big bad thing, right? Like, I can't have this desire for this thing outside of me because it's making me so needy, right? It was actually just acceptance that was needed in that scenario. So I know that might sound kind of confusing, but that's why I always say these situations are so nuanced. Like with anything, your intuition can be calling you to do one thing, and the next day it could be calling you to do the exact opposite. And they're both what was needed at that time, right? So I'm trying to explain these kind of processes and principles and, pillars of the process and kind of laws of the universe as well as I can, so that you are able to apply them to your own situation. Because again, like, yeah, sometimes it might be that you need to be like, you know what, that actually is not going to give me what I need, and I can give it to myself. And that's what you're going to need to do. That's the reframe, and that's the perspective and acceptance you're going to need to take the desire off the pedestal and clear the resistance, right? And then sometimes it might be like actually the opposite, right? Of like clearing the resistance by actually just accepting that you want this thing, right? And through acceptance, that's how we bring the energy into our fields. So it's actually not much of a story, or like there is more of a story to it, but I'm not going to tell the entire story right now because the lesson in the bigger story is more relevant to a different topic, but I will share in the future because it was a really big lesson and experience for me. But long story short, in terms of just kind of explaining like why Sindri like suddenly popped in this weekend is, so yeah, obviously, like you guys know, I was kind of in a funk the past few weeks and going through all this, and I was supposed to be away this past weekend, almost for a week actually. And I essentially had to make a really difficult decision to follow my intuition and say no to something that wasn't a full body yes. Even though I felt a lot of guilt around it, it was not an easy decision. It did not feel fun, but it was absolutely the right decision for me, and honoring my intuition and honoring my body's needs. And I just wanted to mention it because obviously like it's relevant time-wise, but it just was a perfect example of how when you follow your intuition, the universe will reward you over and over for it. I always say like following your intuition is a win-win because you get the amazing feeling of freedom and alignment from following your intuition. And then the universe also just like sprinkles rewards onto you. Like it just like floods rewards to you. Sprinkles and floods are not the same at all. But like, it's just like the universe wants you to keep doing more of that, wants you to keep following your intuition. That's why I always say like abundance flows when you do. Like when you're in flow and you're following your intuition, magic happens. And so it's like I made this really difficult decision to follow my intuition and back out of this trip. And then Sindri surprised me and bought tickets to come see me for the weekend. We had talked about him coming that weekend previously, but I had already had this trip planned. And I was kind of upset like when I backed out of the trip because I didn't back out so he could come see me. I backed out because I knew I didn't have the capacity for it. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't a full body yes. And it just intuitively, I knew I needed to stay home and not go. And I was kind of bummed. I was like, I wish if I wasn't going to go, I wish I would have just made this decision earlier and you could have bought the tickets back when they were really cheap and came for the weekend still. And then he bought them anyway as a surprise. And I just like sobbed of gratitude. And I was so happy. And I realized in that moment, like, this is exactly what I need. That was what was going to be the most nourishing for my soul that weekend. And then he basically told his dad that he was coming to see me for the weekend because I was having a rough month because he needed him to drive him to the airport. And his dad just like hands him $300. And he's like, I want you to take her out. So literally manifested almost the entire flight back. So I ended up getting the flight for even cheaper than it would have been before. So grateful. And it was just like such a sigh of relief and just like this, like, of course, like this is what happens when you follow your intuition. Like it just all works out exactly how it's supposed to. Like I just love the fact that he ended up getting the flight actually for cheaper than it would have been. And it's just like, the universe being like, you made the right decision. Like, it's okay. Like, here's this gift. Your husband is going to come spend the weekend with you. And we had the most amazing weekend. Like I said, it was exactly what I needed. It was just so nourishing to my every single part of me. And he planned a whole weekend for us. He got me gifts. He took me out. He had a whole picnic. He bought us a new game to play. He's just like the cutest. Like I will take any opportunity to gush about my wonderful husband. Yeah, he meal prepped for me. And so it's like, look at all of this that I manifested. Like I manifested now like this entire experience, right? And all of these things from this one simple decision to follow my intuition. But of course the joke is like, it's a simple decision, but it wasn't easy. Like I went through a lot of pain and difficulty denying my intuition on that for weeks. And in the moment when I was actually doing it, but it's like just remembering that so much good comes on the other side of following your intuition. And like, that's where the magic happens. So yeah, that's why he was here this weekend all of a sudden. And there was no countdown or anything because it was very last minute. And yeah, we still have our summer trip planned coming up in a month. So now it's like literally less than a month until I see him again. So it was so helpful too, because I feel like it also like helped, it was also a gift that I asked for, right? With like, help me with this manifestation process, right? And help me embody this frequency and help me calibrate to this frequency of like us being together all the time, right? And we kept saying like, I love that you're going back, but I'm going to see you so soon, right? Like I was like, it actually kind of feels like this is your home and you're like just going on a little work trip and then you're coming back home in a month. And so like even helping to calibrate to the frequency and the feeling of it being and feeling normal for us to be together more often and see each other more frequently. So it was just a gift in so many ways. So yeah, I wanted to tell that story. So yeah, I guess it kind of does tie back to what I was talking about too with, the embodiment this whole episode. But yeah, that's what happened with that. That's why he was here. It was amazing. And yeah, that is the no BS way to let go of attachment to your manifestations. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I would love to know what you thought of the episode. Reach out to me on Instagram, send me an email, send me a text if you have my number. I always love to know your guys' thoughts on these episodes, any takeaways, what resonated, what didn't, biggest breakthroughs, any questions, here for all of it. If you found this episode valuable or entertaining, please share it on social media, share it with someone you love, share it with somebody who you think would enjoy it. And don't forget to rate and leave a review if you haven't already. It really means a lot and helps out the episode, helps out the podcast so much. And yeah, get your booty into Hot Girl CEO Summer because it is literally going to be such a vibe. I can't freaking wait. And it's starting to fill. So yeah, send me a message on Instagram. You can check out all the details on my Instagram page and my story highlights, or just, hit me up if you have any questions about it. I will be so excited to have you. Again, thank you so much for listening. I love you. Don't forget to stop, take a deep breath, and smile. And I will talk to you next time. Bye.